right, so this is a pretty tough question because most people don't know a little trick here that involves common numbers that we should know on the GMAT. And we'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to tackle another challenging part of the question, which is just knowing what the definitions of inversely proportional and directly proportional mean. So when we say that something's directly proportional to something else, if I said X is directly proportional to A, that usually means that X is equal to A times something else. If X is directly proportional to A, that means as A increases, X will also increase. So if we said this is A and this is X, which is totally messing up our XY axis here, as A increases, X also increases. So for example, if we were looking at maybe like your heart rate, it's directly proportional to how much coffee you've drank today. So as you drink coffee, your heart rate speeds up. There's a direct linear relationship there, or maybe it's exponential. I have no idea, but it's a direct relationship. Now, an inverse relationship is a relationship that has the opposite effect. As B increases, so if this is B, X is going to decrease, okay? And in the directly proportional relationship we had here, it was directly proportional to A squared. So as A increases, X actually increases more and more and more. It speeds up because it is increasing at a rate comparable to A squared. So we've got these two relationships, and we can basically set a formula saying that X is equal to A squared over B. And we can ignore multiplying by anything else for right now because it's irrelevant to the question. But we do know that it's directly related to these two things, either inversely or directly proportional. And so if we double the amount of B, in order to keep our original ratio, we'll need to end up with 2A squared on top so that the 2's would cancel. And this is basically what the author's getting at, and this is what we need to figure out in the question. So how do we get a 2 on top when we know that any change we make to A is getting squared? Well, we would need to multiply A by the square root of 2. So if we multiply A by the square root of 2 before we square it, we'll get A squared times 2 out, and that will balance out the 2B on the bottom, so that we cancel out the 2's and we end up with the original ratio that we had at the beginning, which would mean X was unchanged. It was still equal to A squared over B. Okay, so now this is where the trickiness comes in a little bit, because we have percent increases and we don't have any radicals in our answer choices. So I always advocate knowing a list of common numbers. You should know what 15 squared is equal to, right? 15 squared is equal to 225. And 14 squared, I don't always recommend knowing it, but I think it's useful. It's equal to 196. And so what I'm showing here is the square root of 196 is equal to 14. And that means the square root of 1.96 is equal to 1.4. So the square root of 2 is roughly equal to 1.4. I think it's actually 1.41. I actually just memorized this for my own test. You should know the square root of 2 is equal to 1.4, and the square root of 3 is about equal to 1.7. So we're really multiplying A by 1.7, or 1.4 rather. So this is 1.4A squared. That means that we're increasing A by 40% in order to balance out the increase in B. And so our answer is answer choice D, 40% increase. And I think if you understood the original formula that we had, which was A squared over B, you at least knew that you were expecting an increase in A. And if you understood that when you square things, they speed up faster and faster, you may have been able to predict that you want a 40% increase rather than a 50% increase. But I think it's a little less intuitive than it otherwise could be. And it's important to really know the reason why. And it's basically the reason why is the square root of 2. And the square root of 2 is 1.4. So we want to think about those concepts, put those on a note card, know those special numbers, and have them in your back pocket because most people don't on test day.